second episode of the Ant King Frequency. You're talking to myself, Antonio Sancholo, here in Melbourne, Australia, and over in, is it Turkey, North Carolina?
Yes, a small little town, but with little birds. Larry King, hello world. How are you?
I think the world is good. Definitely good if they're listening to the Ant King Frequency. Last week we had a great discussion about who would win in a fight between Bane and the Mandarin and their respective allied forces. Any changes in opinion since last week, Larry?
I don't think so at all, because the more I think about it, I still think that the quote-unquote movie Mandarin would win over movie Bane. Even if that movie Bane teamed up with the Bane that was in Batman and Robin, that's still movie Mandarin. Movie Mandarin wins. But powers-wise, comics Mandarin wins for a bit. But if it's a powerless, one-on-one, no venom, no power rings, it's going to go to Bane. So nothing's really changed.
Okay, good to hear. So I wanted to change things around for the second week. The Ant King Frequency isn't about doing the same thing week after week. Like the rest of your lives, we plan to change and keep it real. So this week, Larry, I'd like to ask you how you plan to survive the zombie apocalypse.
I have everything I pretty much need. I have at least 3 years of canned food. I have a 12-gauge shotgun, which thankfully America and being in the South, they love our gun. We love our guns. 12-gauge shotgun, a bandolier so two 50-count bandoliers. So that's 100 rounds, 400 plus rounds of ammunition, 30-06, the 330, a 30-30, a 40 caliber pistol, a collapsible shovel, a normal shovel, pry bar, wrecking bar, hatchet, claw hammer, a survival knife, which is basically the knife Rambo used. Also, I have a nail gun, but I don't know if that still works. But a bullwhip as well. So if it's good enough for Simon Belmont, it's good enough for me. But we're doing pretty good. If the zombie apocalypse comes, I think I'm feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, I think you're sorted. All right, podcast over. We'll see you next week for. So let me just double check. Have you got bullets?
I forgot the machetes.
Right, the machetes. Well. You're a dangerous man, Larry. Do you have bullets for all these guns?
Every single one. I keep the guns well oiled as well. So.
Right. My exposure to firearms is exclusively limited to GTA 5, but I know I keep running out of money to pay for bullets and ammunition. Is this a problem that you think you might face in the zombie apocalypse?
Well, thankfully, I have enough shotgun rounds. If I have to, I'll stick to shotgun, because every other type of round can be hard to come by, because what happens is a lot of people will hoard ammo. Mm-hmm. They'll get it when it comes in. They think it's more valuable. Problem is, ammunition is just like anything else. It will eventually degrade and break apart. It's just like food. It eventually will, turn into crap. And same thing with ammunition. Shotgun shells, though, they're still under that same umbrella, but they're a little bit more durable. As far as getting ammo for certain types of weapons, it is very tough. 45 ammo, 9mm ammo, pretty hard to come by. You're dealing even with 5.56 rounds, 223, which is your standard like carbines and to call it assault rifles. Mm-hmm. Which assault rifle is only just a normal rifle with like a plastic grip on it, and that's what makes it a quote unquote assault rifle. It sounds more deadly than it actually is. But even getting those types of ammos, even if you go to a gun show, it is going to be kind of hard to go come by. So best bet, stick with a shotgun. It's hard to miss. They're durable. They're tough. So, yeah, like you said, running out of ammo, actually having the money to buy the ammo, that's so bad. Actually finding the ammo, that's the bad part.
Right. So as far as guns go, because again, you'll have to enlighten me, wear and tear, like are there parts that go, springs that need replacing, bolts that pop off? I don't know. Is this an issue with firearms, or at least the range that you own?
Yes, it can be. Depends on how much use and how much wear and tear and how much abuse they get. I actually have a rifle built by the Finnish army for World War II. It's a World War II rifle. Nothing's that I could tell has been replaced on it. So everything's original. It still works, though it is kind of rusty. But I've done my best to get a lot of that rust out. I've put a lot of elbow grease into it. Some of the stuff is a little loose, but it's because the bolts have been rusted shut. And it's seen combat because there's nicks on it, and I think even blood. So I don't know if anybody's actually. I think somebody might have died holding that thing.
Right.
So it may have a ghost attached to it. I don't know, but even with that, it still fires. It's a good long range weapon. It's Mosin Nagant.
Okay, so with use that you see frequently in zombie media, like pistol whipping with a pistol, or hitting someone with the butt of a rifle, or holding off, snapping jaws with the barrel of some type of shotgun, is this likely to shorten the lifespan of your weapon?
It can, and also it's very dangerous to you as well, because every time you think about when you pistol whip, if you're grabbing a pistol, you're pistol whipping something, you're leaving the bottom part of your forearm open. Same thing if you hit something with the butt of your rifle, even if they are coming down on top of it, or you're like lifting it from, like, say around your navel area upwards towards your chin, like that type of hitting with the butt of your weapon, you're leaving your midsection open. If you're going to do anything at hitting, to knock somebody out or knock a zombie down, what have you, you go with the machete. You go with your pry bars, your wrecking bars. You hit with a purpose. You don't do the whole, I'm going to knock it away, or I'm going to, this. It looks good on film, but it's one of those things I've actually thought about, because if you got, a zombie that's chomping at you, that's biting on you, that, if you get that blood, if that blood gets, in contact with your skin and it has an open wound that's festering, or God forbid you got a cut, yeah, you're gonna be zombie. You're gonna be zombie fodder in a little while. So right. Just keep the fancy stuff to the movies and TV shows, and keep it real. When keeping it real goes wrong, but it can save your life as well.
And you aren't alarmed by the noise that guns make, as far as attracting, hordes of zombies who are hearing the gunshots.
Well, that's why I have the collapsible shovel, the entrenching tool.
Yeah.
Which you use that as like a hacking weapon. Is the wrecking bar, the pry bar, the hatchet, the hammer, and the machetes.
Right.
So, and that's one thing that's always bothered me about. Everybody should carry machetes, especially if it's the zombie apocalypse taking place in America. In the South, every hardware store has just rows and, like, if not rows of machetes, trays filled with machetes, are $5 a piece. They're plentiful. The fact that not everybody on The Walking Dead has machetes is stupid. Oh, they're stabbing them with like a knitting needle or some crap like that. Everybody should have machetes, been hacking their arms and heads off, and there you go. Because rotten corpses, they're going to be easier to cut up. They're not going to be very sinewy and very tough.
Right. So let me put this to you. You've been magically whisked away to a country with very litigious anti-gun and knife laws, like Australia, for instance, where I'm based. What happens next? How would you survive the Australian zombie apocalypse?
Okay, do you have bamboo in Australia?
Yes.
Okay, how is it plentiful?
Look, it's not native to the country. If you found a plantation of it, I imagine it would be very plentiful. It's very hard to kill. So, yes.
Well, that's what I would do. I'd gravitate towards that, take as much bamboo as I can, and then, you probably can't have a big knife, or which that's what Americans everybody in Australia has big knives. Thank you, Paul Hogan. Paul Hogan for teaching the world
actually
the mysterious
not true.
ways.
It's nowhere near true. No, we don't have big knives.
Well, To kill your alligators and kill your giant the drop bears as they fall on top of you. You hold it up and you get drop bear sticker. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a pig sticker. But I would cut the bamboo into like spears and use spears. You got a distance weapon to keep the zombie at bay.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure if you don't have, you have issues with like weapons you can carry with one hand. But do you have what they call a bushwhacker? They're like basically think of a 4-foot long pole with like a giant blade on the end for cutting like high grass.
Look, I don't have one in my shed. It might be something a bit more popular on farming or agricultural setups, but it's not something I see in mine or my neighbour's shed regularly.
Well, yeah, because high grass. Yeah, we get a lot of high grass around here. So, but there's this. We call them bushwhackers around here, but they're basically, like I said, 4-foot long pole with both sides are. It's
like a scythe.
Double, kind of, sort of, but it's like it looks almost like a something like Genghis Khan would use, but it has like a pointed curved tip, and so you whack, almost like swing it at thing, and it'll use the curved tip to cut through high grass or weeds or thicket of some kind. And that right there, I would use that at a distance. Downside is it does take a lot of energy to swing that, but if you do, you're cutting something very vital. So though it does require a lot of energy to swing, it would be worthwhile.
Okay.
But I think y'all could even probably get machetes down there, I'd hope.
It's a lot harder to buy large bladed items here. Especially in something, close to the CBD as where I live, close to the central business district. If you're in a rural part of Australia, obviously it'd be a little different, and things tend to be more contextually based. If I walked into a hardware store and asked for a long blade, people would look at me very funny. But if I went into a country one and asked for one, obviously contextually, it would be looked on with more favour. But what you're saying is that you don't need the guns to survive a zombie apocalypse. Is that right?
No, you don't. But here's the thing about the guns. You do need the guns if you're not going to be using them against the zombies. You might have to be using them against people and or bartering with the weapon itself or the ammunition. Because here's the thing about people. Imagine, okay, let's set this stage right now. Okay, say I'll wake up tomorrow morning, there's no power. Okay, and there's dead people. The dead have risen from the grave, or the recently dead are running around biting people. The immediate threat would be the dead people, biting other people. You also have the idea of, people that they go day-to-day job, but they really want to be out killing people. The only thing stopping them is law, is order. And that's the truth. I mean, the idea of people being inherently good or anything like that, I don't believe in that. I do think if the world went into chaos, there would be people that are true evil would show up. So you would have people going for power. You'd have to start dropping bodies as far as humans go. And I was like, that's very likely, that you will have to deal with that type of scenario where you're going to have to be killing other humans just, to get by in day-to-day life if you want to get by in a zombie apocalypse and not go out like Jim's parents in 28 Days Later, taking pills and right. Sleeping away the end of the world.
Yep. So you need to not only have a weapon to confront the zombie menace, but you also need to be able to defend yourself from the human threat too.
Exactly. You're going to have to plan for all scenarios because I've even thought, okay, if you're dealing with viral, bacterial, you'd have to have a gas mask and stuff like that. I don't have one. I probably should, but the filters. Filters only last so long.
Sure.
So if you get one, you have to get a bunch of filters, and but if it's some type of, this sounds crazy, but like a mystical kind of zombie apocalypse, where you cut an arm off, the arm keeps on moving, like some Evil Dead, kind of deal. You got a problem. I don't know if
that's
unless you get an Necronomicon and the guy named Ash Williams. I don't think you're making it out of that one alive.
No. But you should head to your local S-Mart.
Yeah, shop smart. Shop S-Mart. And that right there, that's something I thought about too. Whatever, everything is explained by science. Everybody's, majority people now are comfortable, not necessarily comfortable with it, but they identify themselves as like atheists. They don't believe in any type of higher power. They believe in what they see. But if you start seeing like true dead, that like basically skeletons moving around, no way possible for the muscles, sinew, and all that stuff being animated. Like, oh, there's gonna be some explanation for that, like some like mystical zombie type crap. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's Are
you saying
a wrath of God?
Faith is a weapon in the zombie apocalypse?
Possibly.
Really?
And this is the thing. I'm not a very religious person, more spiritual. I'll put it that way. But if somehow, okay, let's say there's enough people in the world that they think it's the end times. Oh, it's the end times, end times. They somehow enact the end times.
Right.
Their idea of the end of the world creates the end of the world. So thinking like, oh, this doesn't mean the end. Like, I'm not saying like, doing a whole like prayer chant or some type of mantra or meditation to fight that off while you got zombies still running around. But it can be a weapon of it. So almost naysaying can be a weapon of mass destruction.
Right.
Possibly.
Okay.
But that right there, but the idea of a magical force or supernatural force, spiritual force being used to create the undead rising from the grave and moving, like skeletons moving around, that type of thing, like kind of Argonauts or something like Harryhausen type stuff. You could possibly also use that same mindset to counteract that. I'm not saying call out the Kraken to fight zombies or something, but like
the penitent man will pass.
Possible. Exactly. Right. Go get the Holy Grail and don't carry across the seal, no matter if a hot Nazi dame tries to tell you, hey, it's a good idea.
Yeah,
because it's not. It's never a good idea.
You must make sure that you don't choose poorly. Basically,
you don't choose poorly. Choose the cup of the carpenter and not the cup of the king.
Yeah,
but
essentially, by adopting the faith that you're, not the faith, but the tenets at least of the faith that you're trying to enlist, you can overcome the evil that's oppressing it. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Kind of a positive. Either it would basically, it's almost like saying advocating faith in a time where that right there would be not necessarily the most acceptable idea. As far as people go, like hey, you got to believe in something, because if you believe in nothing, the bad forces win, the naysayers win. But you never know. But also, that idea would also have a negative connotation, because I think more people know about Cthulhu and Lovecraftian mythos than they do about I guess in the Bible, but a lot of other faiths. So I don't really want Cthulhu coming up third place or second place or something like that. Because that would be, you think zombies are bad? Oh yeah, things if you look upon them, you go mad and hack apart your family is not fun either.
So what you're proposing is that in a Ghostbusters type turn of events, the everyman will collectively summon, through their collective conscious, the Stay Puft Cthulhu.
Exactly, or the mass zombie horde, as it were, the global zombie horde, because everybody's watching Walking Dead, everybody's tweeting about it, everybody's talking about it in the water cooler. Hopefully it doesn't come to pass, because if it does, your 9-to-5 job that you hate, your office, it'll be better than being chased through the streets by your undead, neighbor who is feasting for your flesh, and maybe they talk, maybe they don't, maybe they just go whatever, or they just say nothing and just bite your neck or tear at your hamstring.
What I fear is some mishap, like I don't know, some type of sleep medication, like Stilnox or similar, would inflict zombie type symptoms in people, and you'd see a whole bout of innocent people basically getting their heads lopped off, because people now are trained to kill zombies. on site almost. We've been indoctrinated by media and whatnot to eradicate the zombie menace, should it ever appear. We've been prepared and steeled for it by these pop culture presentations.
Yeah, and speaking of pop culture presentations, I mean, I don't know if you want to bring up the origins of a possible current zombie outbreak where you got as far as what's viral, where it'd be viral or some type of bacterial, or like you said, a misunderstanding of a zombie outbreak where it's some type of say if you mix this with this, like some type of sleep aid with this, you'll get some type of zombie-like reaction in 1 out of 100 people, which 1 out of 100 doesn't seem like, oh, it's like every person. But if you got a city of say 1,000 people, that's 10 people running around acting like zombies.
That's it.
You got a city of 1 million, you got a lot of people running around acting like zombies, and you have a lot of people dead. And or at very least critically injured. But the idea of you have your Return of the Living Dead zombies, where you burn them, they keep on coming back. The ashes turn to acid rain. Acid rain brings back even more zombies. Your Resident Evils, T-virus, G-viruses, Los Plagas, which that was not zombies, that's just mind-controlled people, but technically I guess it's a zombie, but they're not truly dead. But that's more, to me, I can accept that more, and I can accept the pills and the bad reaction. Then I can accept mushroom cordyceps zombies like you see in Last of Us, which I hated that game. I hated it.
One of the many things we agree to disagree about, I think.
Oh, you people and your love of Last of Us. I could not stand Ellie. And I could not, see, it's not Ellen Page. Yes, it is. It's Ellen Page. We've pretty much, everybody's seen, it's Juno. He's teamed up with Juno. And, oh, no, it's not that. And then, they're clickers. Listen intensely. That's my superpower, listen intensely. But,
well, look, let's use that as a segue, though, because you're defining
sure.
different types of zombies there with the clickers and whatnot. I think it's not inaccurate to say that there are regularly accepted types or generally accepted types of zombies, like you've got your walkers and your crawlers and your runners, like you see in the more modern zombie films. Is there anything I've left out there?
Well, you got, your Left 4 Dead series, you got boomers, you got tanks, smokers, you have your hunters, you have your chimeras, that's your Resident Evil stuff, you have your tyrants, you have your nemesis, your overpowering, super bulky zombies.
But I'm talking about the ones that cross franchises here, the generally accepted zombies that exist no matter what the franchise or world that you're in.
Yeah, so the walkers, the crawlers, the stationary ones that just stand there. I don't know what they would be called. I'm trying to think of a clever name for them. I can't. But yeah, you have these those multi not say multi-platform, but we're multi-property spanning zombie types, the archetypes. That right there, those do pose a threat, especially the runners. But also, you got a bunch of them standing around just waiting for a powder keg to go off. It's like, you shove in one, so yeah.
In the most economic way possible, how would you dispatch of each of those types?
Okay, you got a runner. Don't go too don't go fancy shotgun. Head, go for the head, go for the chest, like that area, because you're going to get some type of bullet damage into the brain.
Right.
Though you will, or other ones around you, it's best to do that than try to I'll try to shoot it with a crossbow or a bow and arrow, or use some type of silenced deal. Which there are ways to silence weapons or suppress the sound of a weapon, but the act of doing that on the fly, in case this isn't you cannot plan for, if you come across, no, it just happens out of the blue. You have to think of it that way, because that's the best way to approach it. For a crawler, some type of, maybe a weapon at distance, like a range, like a spike, spear or something, maybe machete, something with some distance, so you don't want that thing getting any close, like grabbing and taking it down. The ones that standing still, machete, base of the skull, cut its head right off, or just, the best is to cut the head right off, because if you try hacking it in the head, your blade could get stuck. The zombie could start freaking out, alert the other ones in the area, and then you got a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think that could you also got the walkers, and that right there, unless there's a mass horde of them, you're backed against the wall, I would not use any type of firearms. Your machetes, your like I said, spears, spikes. Hell, I wouldn't use bow and arrows, because you put an arrow in one, you're not getting it back out, because it's gonna keep on coming unless you get a headshot and then it's by itself. But more than likely, it's going to be in a group. So, but how about you? How would you handle it?
Look, it's very different out here. Of course, as I mentioned, the weapons at our disposal are much more, I guess, commonplace and urbane appropriations of everyday objects. The only thing I've got in the household that probably would suffice offensively would be 2 antique World War II samurai swords. They'd be handy at least, and I'd keep them very close to me and the wife. Probably one each.
How very Deadpool of you.
Only because that if well cared for, they offer range and efficiency. But I'd want to avoid anything close quarters as much as possible. But at the same rate, we don't have the long distance offensive strategy that you Americans have with your firearms. So, I'm pretty much left to sort of bunkering down inside the house and fortifying it as much as possible. Also keeping the fact I've got a 9-month-old kid in the mix, so I won't actually be wandering the scorched earth, taking out hordes like I see you doing, Larry. I'll be settling in for the long haul.
That right there, like I could actually see myself wandering. I wouldn't get that far in the post-apocalyptic zombie wasteland, as it were, but because I would eventually come across something. And the idea of venturing out, in search of food, you can just wander anywhere, because, like I said, you have roving gangs of humans, let alone zombies, to contend with, to worry about. So, with that being said, you still have to plan accordingly. And I think even though you don't have the access to firearms, do you have access? Like, how easy could you get ammo in Australia?
Oh, impossible. Unless you've got a license.
I see how it is. Because there is something in America called zip guns. People can make homemade guns in their house. But I think if you had a slight knowledge of, let's say, welding or some of metalworking, you probably build yourself your own blunderbuss. By just putting some black powder in a barrel.
But you can't even buy black powder, flash powder, anything remotely explosive. You can't.
Australia, they took away
purchase without licenses. Yeah, well, when you have a country made up of convicts, you've got to put certain safeguards in place.
Yeah, true. And they said the same thing about U.S. We need to. Oh, look at all the people dying. I'm like, yeah, but if we took away all the guns, I don't think you get rid of every single gun here, because stuff would flow right. All the stuff we sold to Central and South America will start coming back across the border. So,
true.
Yeah, that's it. It's not that easy. But
also diplomatically, as a nation, you've pissed off some of the wrong people in the crowd, in the schoolyard of governments. America has a lot of people throwing shade at it right now.
Yeah, we need our guns, because if we didn't have them, we'd have a problem. And let the military keep the guns. I'm like, well, of course, but I'm one of the people, I don't trust my government. Now, I'm not saying my government would release a zombie virus on the world, or the general public, as it were. But anything's possible. With that, that ranged ability of a weapon, of a firearm, you also can get that with a bow and arrow. But the problem with bow and arrow is, if you don't have enough arrows, like say you have like 20, 30 arrows, which is a lot. That's only 20, 30 shots you can use. That's hoping you get headshots.
That's probably,
if you don't get headshots.
Yeah, that's probably one of the only things I would look at, if it merited concern, because as of this discussion, they're still legal. Compound bows, even crossbows, are still legal in my part of the world. But there is talk to change that.
Yeah, see, right here in America right now. Now it's a little after 9:00 at night, in America. But I think if I had enough, even if I had gone a few hours earlier, if I had the cash, I could go to pretty much any local Walmart. I could go in there with, say, $300 cash and buy a 12-gauge pump action shotgun right in the store. They call a number. I give them my information, personal information, this and that. They call a number. It's a state, federal, number, state and federal. Hey, he doesn't have no criminal record or nothing like this. No, known this, he's a upstanding citizen, as it were. They carry my shotgun out to the exit. They give me the shotgun. I went and bought a Mossberg 12-gauge pump action shotgun about 3 or 4 years ago. I bought the shotgun at the store as well as 100 rounds of ammo at the same time. They take my shotgun out to the exit. I take the shotgun from the exit to my vehicle. I'll put the shotgun in my trunk of my vehicle, and I proceed to assemble the shotgun right there in the parking lot, and I go take it to go shoot. And not in the store, no, nothing like that, but out at a range to make sure that the weapon fired.
Yeah.
But all it would take is somebody to pay the money for that and then turn around and just take that gun back inside the store.
Yeah.
That's all it would take. And, they would have to change rules and this and that eventually, but that's what's scary about America. That does scare me.
Well, that scares the rest of the world, let me tell you that.
But I'll look at it this way. As many guns are around here, you would think there would be so many more people dying every day. So many bodies just dropping. It would be like flies. Like 5 million people died today because they were shot with guns. I mean, there's more guns in America than there are people.
Right.
And there's different types. But with stuff civilians can buy without having federal firearms licenses and stuff like that. You're not buying no machine guns. You're not buying no heavy duty military grade stuff. You buy stuff that's kind of like it, but you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. And really, at the end of the day, it isn't worth it because you can't get the ammo, you can't get all the gear like you see in the video games. But it might make you feel a little better, and it is kind of fun. It's like driving a fast car every now and then. Well, not necessary, but it can be fun.
Let's have a look though. Firstly, and this is a digression, but it was one I plan to take at your right to bear arms.
Yeah.
So where does that come from?
That comes from the Brits, and because we were a colony, we decided we didn't like being a colony anymore. No taxation or representation. Eventually, the idea behind the Second Amendment is to, keep a well-armed militia, and that idea is been interpreted as to protect against like foreign invaders, but also domestic. Because look at it this way: people cannot be trusted. Though your government is for the people, by the people, of the people, everything like that. Everything in the past 200 plus years has been twisted and turned. Now, according to the U.S. government, organizations and corporations are recognized as individual citizens. That means they can donate as much money to a single candidate as they want. Say you got Exxon wants to donate $1 billion to one candidate. They can do that. That candidate will win. That candidate will be the Exxon candidate. They won't be called the Exxon candidate, but they will be.
Yeah.
So if you have enough money, you can get your agenda across. You can grease wheels. Politicians, there are career politicians. You're not serving the people, you're serving yourself. They can have, certain things that they have, you have senators and politicians. Oh, I hate guns. Guns need to be taken away from people because they hurt innocent children and innocent people's lives. But they're the same people that will have armed protection. So it's like, practice what you preach. If you're that worried about guns, then you get rid of every gun. Well, I have to have that because that's what the government says. I'm like, yeah, but it's like you're feeding off of that fear and paranoia. And the same thing how, in a situation where there's zombies, you'd have the same type of people that would be clamoring for their firearms.
So heading back to the gun discussion, though, if the government forces were to besiege Turkey, North Carolina, would the firepower that you actually possess, as well as those typically possessing the same amount, even really pose much of a threat to what the current military uses as ordnance?
Possibly not, but I look at it like this. You can have them. I'm not saying that if you're in a major metropolitan city, you'd stand much less of a chance of actually holding your own against the United States military. Because if sheep herders in Iraq, the South has a thing about don't tread on me, the war of a northern aggression, even though there's southern military bases. And there's a couple military bases around here. A lot of very well-known military bases. You got, and then you also have, perfect example. I'm pretty sure Major Dutch Schaefer from Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator, when he says he was with a guy from Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg is a Army. They have Army Rangers as well as helicopters, and 82nd Airborne at Fort Bragg, and and then you also have a couple of attack chopper places up that way. You also have F-18 squadrons and Hornets and Ospreys and other military bases in the area. So if they took it by air, there's nothing we could do. So ground forces, possibly, but the likelihood of actually winning would, winning a fight, it would be more like how the original Red Dawn ends. It wouldn't be pretty, but the statement would be said, like spilling American civilian blood, it wouldn't look pretty and would not help their cause. It would not help government troops' cause.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I hear is that your right to bear arms, coupled with your legal allotment of firearms that you can purchase, is actually impotent in the face of an actual need to use those said arms.
In a way, yes, but considering how many people do have firearms that are okay, you can go buy right now. If I had $12,000, I could go buy me a Barrett 50 cal.
Right.
We're talking that's an anti-tank, mainly anti-tank rifle, but anti-vehicle.
Yep.
It's a sniper rifle. If you have the money, you have the means, you could defend yourself for a while against military forces. But you got to also think the modern U.S. military may be, people think, they're evil and this and that, and they do all these horrible things, but they're also more of the people than anything else. So, it's one thing to go and shoot up some village in the Middle East. Another thing to go shoot up some small town in North Carolina or Ohio or something. It's a town, as it were. It's harder to roll into a U.S. town with a tank and take it over than it is, some middle of nowhere.
If we had this conversation 12 months ago, I'd definitely agree with you. But I think Islamic State military forces are proving that it is a lot harder than it used to be to just roll into a Middle Eastern town and take it over by force.
It's true, but
unless you're willing to do some unspeakable things to the populace like they're doing.
Yeah, the thing about that right there, that would be a perfect place for a zombie outbreak to happen. Go ahead and eat them SOBs up. But when you're dealing with that type of fanaticism, where you're doing unspeakable acts, not just because this cleric or somebody's telling me, just because you can. it gets quite horrific, and it is quite disturbing to see the human that savagery right there is just as bad as imagining all the little Timmy from down the streets now eating his mother's face off in the kitchen because he got infected by a virus. Oh well, that guy down the street's now throwing a suspected homosexual off of a roof and killing him, or burning a jet pilot alive, in a metal cage. It's just as savage, and I feel more sympathetic for the zombie than I would these guys over there in Iraq and Syria. So it's like, yeah, I'm talking about the Islamic State guys. I'm talking about I don't feel any empathy for them. I'm all for the whole glass the whole area. Take off and nuke it from orbit. Go ahead, and it's just been nothing but a hotbed of trouble for thousands of years. So
yeah. Well, look, it doesn't seem like it's that simple to fix, though. Unfortunately, or if it was, they've missed their chance to fix it that simply, because there's some pretty big powers ISIS are allying themselves to.
Yeah, it's like ruining thousands of years of culture and history just because you can, just because what's the why not? Let's go ahead and do this. And you have these people say what's evil in the world, that's evil. Look at the Americans, look what they're doing. I'm like, for all the evil stuff that America has done and will do, I mean, I'm all for for helping out if you can, but every time we've helped out is always bit us in the rear.
Yeah,
we helped out in Afghanistan. Look how that turned out. Look,
yep.
We helped out in Vietnam. We helped out the French in Vietnam. We got embroiled in a war, a conflict. Got dragged into that, and
well, look. Let me ask a bit of a fiendish question, really.
Sure.
America inflicting democracy upon another country like Iraq, let's say, how exactly is that different from Islamic State forces inflicting their own system of rule upon a governance?
Well, that right there really ain't much difference, because I look at it this way: America, the whole idea of a war on terror. War on terror isn't ideal. If you want to get it down to the nitty gritty, the U.S. has been terrorizing people for the past 100+ years. Ever since the Spanish-American War, we have been doing a lot of terrorizing.
Right.
Not every single war, not every single conflict, but especially, dropping depleted, using depleted uranium rounds, using what they call sabot rounds, which are in, I believe, also rounds. Sabot rounds, that's tank shells. You also have, I think sabot, but it's like depleted uranium rounds are causing birth defects in Iraq. You have, people just using white phosphorus on, houses and small villages. And I mean, perfect example. Under the current U.S. administration, they are still actively targeting weddings. You would take a hellfire. Say there's a wedding in Yemen, they will and this has been happening since 2008. So you can't say, well, that's a previous administration. You have the power to change this. Well, if there's a wedding, say there's one or two possible terrorists there. Wedding is 30, 40 people. You use a hellfire missile strike from a Predator drone. You hit that wedding. You stay on station like 20 minutes. Start digging people out of the rubble. You hit it again, making sure if there is somebody there, you get them twice. Got a double tap. Jeez. They're still doing this. There's horrific accounts coming out of the middle. Like what happened in Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, all these Middle Eastern countries where we are still doing very questionable stuff, and it's all an act. This is for the greater good. It's for the greater good. But that right there, that problem, that greater good, it makes no sense to go and do these acts of evil, these acts of terror. Imagine you're just, you're a normal guy. You go to work every single day. You come home to find your house bombed because it was an accident. They thought they were hitting a terrorist stronghold. Your family gone. You give two shits about the terrorists. You give two shits about your own government or the U.S. You just like watch your TV, your soccer, football, and you enjoy a tea and hear your kid complain about school, or your wife complaining about her day or something, whatever, and then you find your family's dead. Do you think that guy's gonna be like, yeah, rah rah America? No, he's gonna be, to hell with America. I'm joining the terrorists. I want to get some revenge, payback. It isn't about justice; it's about revenge. And that right there is going to push somebody over to the edge. And the wrong person is going to say, hey, let's sew a nuclear bomb inside my chest and walk across the border. That type of thing. You're dealing with a crazy element of terroristic society where the people fighting the terror are the ones inflicting the terror upon the average citizen. And this was how it looks to me as your average, red-blooded. Everybody thinks, from the South, you'd be, America can't do no wrong. America does wrong all the time. If you want to get down to the nitty gritty, we are currently America is currently, I know the world has a lot of problems with economic refugees, people leaving their countries because of bad jobs and everything like that. Right now, they're legalizing a bunch of illegal, people within the U.S., mainly people from Mexico. And while people are like, they did the same, everybody's an immigrant to the U.S. True. My family, especially, some parts have been here since the 1600s, some parts not till even the late 1800s. But they all went the legal route. A long ship ride, some people died, some people were born. Long, arduous trip. Now, because of presidential declarations and the quote unquote greater good, the only reason this is being done is to ensure a voter base. Hey, they'll be grateful for us giving them citizenship. They'll vote Democratic, and the idea of taking, I'm going off a little rant, but taking, a people and saying, we know you've been breaking our laws. And I'm the first one to admit, the immigration policy for the U.S., a lot of it is BS. They've made it overly complicated, bureaucratic. And I think in a way that is just criminally wrong. People that want to legally get in, it's almost impossible for them.
Right.
But you can illegally cross the border. Now you got to be wary, be deported, and breaking laws. But there's so many people doing it. The likelihood of you actually getting punished for it is very slim. But with this act of saying, hey, you've been breaking law, we're giving amnesty. But they're also apparently, and I probably need to do my research on it, but I think they're even giving them, even though they haven't paid taxes, they're giving them like a tax rebate check. And I don't know, maybe this is a bunch of rants I've heard from other people that, like, you hear this? Maybe that's the case. But if that is, that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, look, whether you've been ranting or not, the common theme with every single one of your points is that your government has done something that you don't have faith in.
No, and I would not give them faith in doing this, any type of extreme disaster. They can't get their act together. And whether that be a hurricane or what have you, or God forbid, like, how we initially started this, a zombie apocalypse, or even aliens, or, a giant marshmallow man roaming the streets of New York, they couldn't get their act together to save a single U.S. life.
So what would it take for you to have faith in your government? Do you need Bill Pullman to take out the alien invasion, or what? What is it?
Or
was that Paxton?
No, that was Bill Pullman.
I get my bills confused. Okay, cool.
That was Bill Pullman. I might need damn it, the president from Idiocracy played. Oh, damn it,
Terry Crews.
Terry Crews, yes. Yeah. So there you go, from Idiocracy, Terry Crews, President Camacho. But that right there, I can believe in that, because that right there, the idiocy up front and not doing this. I mean business. I speak like a robot because this is what the people of my cabinet tell me how to speak, because this is what the American people needs.
That's not a bad Obama impersonation, mate. I like that.
Because it's how it is. We bomb weddings because we need to fight terrorism. But we will not call it Islamic extremism, because that's the truth, and we want to keep everybody happy. Right. We want to give Iran nuclear, capabilities for their reactors, but we don't, want to support. We don't want to support Israel. Israel's done some horrific stuff. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm like, Israel can be as bad or worse than the U.S. They got to be, though. They're like the Russia of the Middle East. They got to be cruel, because if they're not cruel and, let's say, evil, then they're going to get run over by every other country around them. You know, if Egypt, it'd be Syria, it'd be Lebanon. You know, everybody'd be running all over them. You know, they'd be like, you know, they would not exist.
Well, they are at the heart of a 6,000-year-old conflict. There's no easy solution to that.
Exactly.
But tying it back to a previous point of conversation, if you had faith in your government, would there still be a need, not a want or a desire, but a need for a right to bear arms?
Yeah, I still say that. I honestly think everybody in the world, I would make it, you know, you'd have to go through a strenuous way of, you know, like a bunch of hoops to get it, but everybody would be able to get it, because even though you would have a crazed element that would get their hands on that, same thing can be said about a car being driven into a crowd. Everybody got to be licensed. I'd say, yeah, license having firearms. And, you know, you can't cure crazy. And that's the truth. You don't, you know, because this person never showed, like this crazy person, he did this horrific thing. We never saw it coming. Well, if you'd paid attention, you might have. You know, but they prescribe somebody pills. They go off the pills. They go a little wacky. Or they, you know, have a bad day. Well, one too many bad days. And they go all defense, like falling down. You know, Michael Douglas, great movie, directed by Schumacher. But
we won't hold that against him.
No, Schumacher has done some great movies. Then he's done horrible, you know,
Batman films.
Horrible.
But okay, so let's say, because a lot of terrorist, at least widely publicized terrorist attacks, are either with a simple array of semi-automatic weapons or improvised devices or vehicles even. Let's say terrorists had access to the arsenal you have. That's a fairly impressive stash of weaponry you've got. Would they not be able to inflict far more damage with that I guess, range of firepower that you have?
They could. It depends on how the proficiency is with it. And if that's the case, that, you know, let's say they get their hands on it, or they have the same equivalent, and they decide to perform a terrorist act, you know, attacking a mall or a school or, you know, something horrific, you know, soft targets.
Sure.
And not some type of government installation, but, you know, your kids aren't safe, you're not safe, whatever. And there would be a response time. They could drop a bunch of bodies. That'd be the truth. But this is gonna make me sound very cruel and cold, but that's how the truth. There are there's many more people dying every day. The acts, or, you know, in a roundabout way, you know, innocent people dying, and, you know, and other, basically we're killing about as probably equivalent in civilian lives, as it were, as terrorists would be killing inside the United States. I'm not saying that makes it right. I'm not saying it balances everything out. But I'm just saying, being blunt, just, you know, just because you're not, you know, you take away all the guns, or say let's keep the guns away. I don't think that would stop any civilian, you know, losses. Really, I mean, it would make it a little tougher. But, you know, I don't see myself giving up my guns. I like them too much. Guns are fun to shoot. You know, being blunt. But, you know, with terrorists getting hold of, you know, shotgun, rifle, you know, standard weapons, they could kill a pretty good amount of people. You know, but same thing with, you know, doing a fertilizer bomb in the back of a, you know, U-Haul truck. You know, like the Timothy McVeigh did Murrah Building, 95. You know, you can kill a bunch of people that way too. And you don't need a gun license and a bunch of ammo to do that. So it's, I understand where you're coming from, like, to the American obsession with guns, but it's one of those things, like, I think it's also in our psyche. We fought to take this land from the people that initially had it, also from the people that thought they had it, and we will fight to keep it for us from people that want to take it from us, whether that be, possible invaders or people that want to commit acts of aggression or terror against the United States. So I think it's something in the psyche, whereas Australia, I'll get it this way. Australia is a nation that's, founded upon, it's a penal colony. Founded upon that. Founded upon, it's like Australia's kind of a weird version of America in many ways. It's like America, but a rapid rise dough. It's like, instead of taking a while to grow, it's like just quicker. As far as, like, the racial issues, like racial / like the native peoples issues. Same thing with the U.S. The UK, they bunch of little tribes fought and eventually became, these counties or these castles and this and that. Eventually, England and Ireland and Wales and Scotland, and they were used to having kings and monarchs and paying taxes and tolls and tariffs and all that stuff, to get across the little, glen to get over here or wherever. They're used to being told what to do. Same thing with Europe. They're used to being told what to do. Even in Russia, used to being told what to do. America said, screw your king. We're going to kick everybody out. And though the Canadians did burn down the White House, and Canadians and British burned down the White House in 1812, a freaking tornado and severe thunderstorm put the fire out. So if that ain't saying God's on our side, I don't know what is. But, just joking. But yeah, everybody's so used to having that structure. America is the child on the block saying, no, I'll tell you when I'm ready to go to bed. I'll tell you what I'm going to eat. I'm going to tell you what I can put in my hands or put in my mouth or pull with my index finger as far as a trigger goes. So I do think that's where America comes from.
Yeah.
Look,
but I'm not saying Australia's perfect either. I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now, and even with our gun laws, 15 out of every 100 residents, per 100 residents, there'll be 15 guns in Australia. Per 100 residents in America, there'll be 88.8 guns. So
what's about America, though? A lot of them are like the same type of gun. So it's like a lot of shotguns, and like you see a lot of shotguns grouped together, a lot of rifles grouped together. And these aren't really, you can conceal them, but, they try to limit ammo sizes. And like, you don't have this many rounds in your pistol, your semi-auto pistol. But the problem with that is I think the FBI stat, it may be an old stat, but most murders are committed in less than 3 bullets.
Right.
And so saying you only carry 6 bullets in this pistol, that's not going to stop, some gangbanger from, driving up on somebody, pop, 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 and dropping them in Southside Chicago.
Yeah.
This is, and that is a problem in America. We have, on a regular basis, I mean, we were both fans of the show The Wire, but that's the truth. There are so many drug-related murders, but if it's a black-on-black crime, nobody cares. But if it's a Caucasian or somebody that's a lighter, skin tone, not necessarily ethnicity, or it could be ethnicity, killing a person of color, whether it be black or, mostly, mainly it's black. It's a white guy killing a black guy or black kid. And you also have this, we are trained to, in America, and I'm in law enforcement in a way, I work security, but the issue is there's that saying, dead men tell no tales. If why didn't they shoot him in the leg? Why didn't they shoot him in this or that? Police, and I've not been trained by any police, but you shoot to kill. Because if you shoot the wound and you miss, and that bullet hits an innocent person, lawsuit or, criminal charges for killing an innocent civilian. Or it can ricochet, hit a child in the head, baby in a stroller. There you go. Perfect picture, because that could happen. Or you shoot somebody in the leg, People don't realize you have arteries in the leg. That bullet goes in there but doesn't come out, severs the femoral artery. Person bleeds to death. They're dead. You shoot them in the leg, you still kill them.
Right.
Or even, you shoot a wound, you wound them, they're hurt, but they go and shoot somebody else. They shoot your partner, or they shoot somebody, innocent. And if they live, they'll say, oh, they weren't in the right mind and you had no reason to shoot them. It's like, and that's the truth. The families will sue you if they're dead, but it's harder, for a family to sue on the behalf of a dead person. And, there have been cases where cops have shot, there's a cop that shot a 12-year-old kid in Cincinnati. The kid had a toy gun. But the thing about this toy gun, it was like an air pistol. Even I was like, if I came up on that situation as a kid in a playground or a park, pointing a pistol around. And depending on the situation, because I'm thinking, this kid could act, why did they talk him down? Why didn't they just tase him or shoot him? The problem with tasing people have heart conditions. You tase them, you can kill them. And that, even though it's unintentional, it's an unintentional act, you still kill somebody.
Right.
Well, why didn't they talk to him at first? If you gave everybody a chance, like you have a guy with a gun, oh, he's just joking around. It wasn't a real gun. Let's just take our chances. If everybody's like RoboCop or something, yeah, halt, citizen, put your gun down, whatever. Yeah, that'll work. But when you aren't made of titanium and mostly a machine, you get shot, then, say you don't even get shot critically, something in the leg. You mess up some nerves, you might not walk right for the rest of your life. You're crippled, in a way. So, just because you try to do the right thing, you'll end up paying the consequences.
Well, look, I have seen an interesting statistic here. Now, I'm using the website nationmaster.com, which is a stats and facts database. For 2014, the murder rate per million people in Australia was 10.38. In the United States, it was about 4 times more than that at 42.01 murders per million people. If you look at the raw data, it's 229 murders in Australia, 12,996 in the United States. That's a huge difference, but obviously you've got so many more people.
Also, that's not it.
Sorry, go on.
But I was going to say, that right there, the population, that's not necessarily reflecting, the population stats are roughly about 350 million people in the U.S., I believe. That's not including undocumented workers. Murders don't necessarily count, that murder equals that person was a citizen. There are there's murders, and there are, I said every murder is illegal immigrant or say a sex worker or something smuggled, like season 2 of The Wire, the port where they brought the Russian hookers in. Those are counted in murders as well, even though they might have happened in, like that type of thing. Like, that's still a murder, even though they weren't citizens. That is still considered a murder. And, I'm not saying the statistics are 100% correct, but I'm just saying, like, that type of thing. So, you're saying, like, what you said, there's 12,000 murders in the U.S.
in
2014. Consider this, out of 300 million people, a lot of people having guns. That's actually not bad. I'd take that as a win in my book, but right. That's just me. I'm in the racial goal way of thinking that there needs to be kind of a culling of the herd in a way. There are way too many people on this planet that are not necessarily worthy. So, but, I'm not saying that I advocate, just the murder of, innocent civilians or anything like that. But
it is the highest, actually. I'm looking at all countries here. The number of privately owned small firearms per 100 residents. The highest is the United States with 88.8 per 100 residents. Second is Serbia with only 58.2. And everyone else is rather closely behind that. Australia's 40th with, let's have a look who's at the bottom, just to round off the bell curve here. Tunisia with 0.1 of every 100 people owning a small arm of some sort. Japan also very low on the list. So Australia is actually about higher than halfway. We're looking at a list of 170 countries. Australia is ranked 40 for gun ownership. So we're hardly angels ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm wondering something. Like, I know this doesn't really matter when you're talking about lives, but I wonder if you were to poll the average American, even though I think like, most of the world gets like holidays and stuff, you know, where America, the idea of having even days off, like a weekend, is going bye-bye. You know, and we work, you know, we're overweight, we're overworked. You know, whether you know, I'm a working stiff blue collar job, and there's a lot of people I know work blue collar. You're lucky if you get, you know, a raise every few years if you're lucky. No benefits, and you know, I think, you know, for being, I wonder how happy, you know, I think as far as like the world goes, America's doing pretty good. So considering, you know, like, we got to be best at everything. We got to be best at the world. We also got to be best at murder. So, you know, you only do it the American way. But, you know, and there you go. I mean, seriously, when you think about it, you know, everybody hates on America. Oh, you're American scum. You'll come everywhere. You tell everybody what to do. You know, patu. And that right there, you know, dealing with that attitude. But if you could come to America, most people could come to America, they would. It's like, you know, haters gonna hate. You know, they hate us because they ain't us. You know, that type of thing. You know,
Right.
They're really cheesy and that brotastic talk. But I think in many ways, like that's the case, because even there are very few countries where you can go from nothing and become something. You know, and you know, their dreams still do happen in America. It's tough, but it's easier than China, where if you're in China, you have to play ball with the government.
Yeah.
You know, and most other, you know, governments as well. They only let you. There really is a glass ceiling there. Here in America, you get enough money. Guess what? You are the government. You are the military.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So.
All right.
I'm just talking myself ragged. Yeah. Wow.
So we're going to end up there on what was I guess a whimsical look at one type of apocalypse, and probably more of a sobering look at the apocalypse that awaits us as far as, I guess, situations abroad and terrorism as you know, a continuing outcome for us. Is there anything you wanted to say in passing, Larry, before we wrap up?
It was a nice segue between Robert Kirkman and Piers Morgan. You did. That's quite funny. But because like I was watching the thing about Piers Morgan talking about guns the other day. It was like, and then I was like, I see where this is going. Okay, I'm ready for it. I think I don't really have the stats and everything backing it up, but you know, but that is the thing about America. There is something that the media is disgusting. They sell, you know, pills for erectile dysfunction, and they cover, you know, all these horrific crimes, and they sensationalize it. So I think if America could do anything, it would get rid of our media, because our media is horrible.
Right.
But that's the first thing I'd do. But
Well, look,
yeah,
let's have a talk about the media maybe another time, because I'd love to bend your ear about Fox News and what me as a representative of the rest of the world think about Fox News. But
I mean, faux news,
faux
man.
news. But we'll talk about that definitely later on. So if you do want to weigh in on anything we've talked about today, you can reach us at the moment on Twitter. So I'm at Antonio Sancholo. You can see the spelling in the liner notes for the podcast. Larry, how can we reach you?
Oh, at Larry King Undead on Twitter for your everything from your average talk about this and any topic you want to bring up, or heck, I think we're even open to suggestions. If you got something, throw at us. We'll think it over at the very least.
That's it. The only stipulation is keep it civil. We're nice guys and we like to keep things nice, except when we're not nice, of course. But you'll hear that coming. I hope to talk to you soon on the Ant King frequency. Thanks again for listening in. And this is Antonio saying goodbye.
And this is Larry saying goodbye. Later, y'all.
The Ant King frequency is copyright 2015 by White Tiger Graphics.